The Five Nights at Freddy's movie is taking a ton of inspiration from a source you wouldn't expect. When watching the first free released FNAF movie trailers, something that surprised me more and more with every new trailer was a sense of deja vu. Something about all this felt so familiar, and surely I wasn't the only one to point this out. Many others, including myself, found that the trailers and the vibe from the new movie resembled one of the most controversial areas of the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, the novel trilogy. But more specifically, the first novel, The Silver Eyes. The Silver Eyes was released on December 17th, 2015, which may ring a bell for some hardcore FNAF fans. But if you don't know, this was the exact same year that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was announced. Coincidence? I think not. Now, we know that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie went through many hardships to get where it is today, and many scripts. But I think something that has remained the same through the whole time was a certain vibe and characterization from the original novel. I think that The Silver Eyes, and now the movie, are trying to show us creator Scott Cawthon's new and more modern attempt at Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Before I move in deeper, let me give a quick recap of the first book for the uninitiated. The Silver Eyes is about Charlie Emily, the daughter of one of the co-founders of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. She returns home to Hurricane, Utah to reunite with some childhood friends and remember a friend, Michael Brooks, who went missing 10 years ago alongside 4 other children at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While there, Charlie and her friends John, Jessica, and Colton return to a closed-down Freddy to relive some memories, but soon learn about some horrifying secrets. Not only dealing with these weirdly sentient robots, but also a security guard named Dave Miller, who isn't exactly as he's seen. After kidnapping Colton, it's revealed that Dave Miller is a fake identity for William Afton, the other co-owner of Freddy's and the killer himself. After learning of Springlock suits and Afton's love for one of them, Spring Bonnie, which he used to lure and kill children, we learn that all 4 robots are possessed by the dead children, and Afton is manipulating them into killing any adults they find seeking around the building. The gang has to save Colton and deal with the killer robots while learning about the original Freddy's location, Fredbear's family dino. So Charlie's younger brother was kidnapped by a familiar yellow bunny. Everything is halted though when the other Springlock suit shows up, the ghostly Golden Freddy. Charlie deduces that GF is actually Michael Brooks and helps the gang escape, but not before Charlie faces off against Afton and activates his Springlock, seemingly killing him as the 4 bots drag Afton off further into the pizzeria. The police get involved and the group separates back to their day-to-day lives as this seems to fade away. That is The Silver Eyes, but what does this have to do with the movie? Well, from the trailers it seems a lot. Firstly, while we don't have Charlie Emily in this movie, we have Mike Schmidt. Mike, like Charlie in the first book, seems to be a normal guy with some kind of ties to Freddy's past. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, pun intended, of theorizing, but it wouldn't surprise me if Mike here isn't exactly just a normal guy looking for a job. Scott has stated in the past that he likes the main protagonists of these types of stories to have some kind of personal connection to the pizzerias, and I think Mike is no different. Through some of the different shots of the trailer and knowing some of the casting, I think we'll definitely see Mike in the early 80s as a child alongside younger versions of his parents and a little brother who we see in the trailer being taken away in a car. This could be something like how in the novels, Charlie's little brother is taken at a small age, or something more in line with the games, but we'll have to see. I think some of the earliest footage we got was leading us in this direction. In the first teaser trailer, we see Mike's little sister Abby hiding from Foxy, hiding in a ball pit, and in more recent trailers we see her ducking and hiding behind arcade cabinets. This is something that many people, including myself, noticed right away. One of the most known and iconic scenes in The Silver Eyes is a cold open where Charlie is dodging and ducking behind arcade cabinets trying to avoid Foxy as he hunts her down. This scene is so important that it's where the title of the book comes from. Foxy has the silver eye that scared Charlie as a child. At least to say, it's a massively important scene in the book, and while I don't think it will be that important in the movie itself, the fact that we are in a similar scenario at all makes me think that there is a lot of influence being taken. But that alone isn't a lot of evidence. But these next 3 will definitely hit the nail on the head. One thing I didn't mention in my recap of The Silver Eyes is that Jason, a younger sibling of one of the group members, also goes into the pizzeria with them on their second trip, and is seemingly taken by the animatronic. The audience alongside the characters are horrified at this, as we think Jason is in life-threatening trouble. But it was revealed later that the animatronics weren't gonna hurt Jason, but only wanted to protect him from what they deemed as threats, adults. See, the missing children in the novel trilogy have memory problems, something that comes with being dead. But the children don't remember that Spring Bonnie is their murderer, and later in the trilogy, they have to be reminded about that fact. They just have strong distrust of adult figures, but can't remember that Spring Bonnie isn't one of the animatronics. Now, I don't know about you, but this seems very familiar to a moment in the first forward trailer of the FNAF movie. Quote from Vanessa in the trailer: "They want to make her like them." On top of this line, we see Abby looking at some drawings on the wall with none other than Foxy next to her. See, things don't seem hostile until Mike shows up, and Foxy turns looking quite angry, and maybe a little protective. I think this is going to be a false flag early in the movie, and we alongside Mike are going to think the animatronics are dangerous to Abby, only for the big reveal in the movie to be a similar one to the book. The animatronics want to protect Abby from adults, not harm her. While we are on this frame, let's talk about the pictures on the wall. We see the 5 MCI kids, MCI standing for Missing Children Incident, playing with what looks to be Spring Bonnie. This could be them trying to explain what happened to Abby, but I could also see the kids needing help being reminded of what actually happened to them, and how they are being manipulated by Spring Bonnie to do bad things. But speaking of this, my second big example of parallels from the two stories is that I think Golden Freddy will have a massive role in this film. We see him on the first poster holding hands with Abby, and hanging out with her in a taxi. So what's his deal? Well, in the first and final full trailers, we see a scene where Mike is in a field with the 5 MCI kids, all holding or wearing something that correlates with their animatronic. Except for this guy. This kid must be Golden Freddy. There are many different identities of Golden Freddy in all different continuities, but that is a video for another day. But our best guess on who Golden Freddy is in the games is a little girl with black curly hair named Cassidy. Well, this isn't Cassidy, unless you believe Cassidy is a male in this continuity, or both, which could be. It's a topic for a different day. But the black hair makes me suspicious of this being Cassidy. It could be, for sure. I also don't see this being Andrews from the Fazbear Frights books. We have no strong evidence of him being Golden Freddy at all, and again, he has curly black hair. Also, every time his spirit is visible in these stories, he has a green alligator mask, which isn't here at all. So unless Scott and the team want to nudge us on Andrew actually being Golden Freddy, I can't see him being this little guy either. So what about the Silver Eyes version of GF? Is Michael Brooks our Golden Boy? Well, it's possible, but again, I can't see it. Michael is a way to connect our book group to Freddy's and give them something to share in common. It's a group motivation, if you will, while in the movie it seems to just be Mike's journey. And we talked about what his possible connections could be, but what about that connection? Could Mike's brother be GF? It wouldn't be the first time a Michael and a GF were connected, but no again. It seems pretty obvious that this guy in the car is Mike's brother. From behind the scenes stuff like young Mike's actor calling this little guy little bro, and how the trailer is shot to show Mike looking worried. This scene in the trailer seems much more personal to Mike than the other scene with the 5 kids. Now, I think our best guess here is that Golden Boy, again, is another new user of Golden Freddy for this continuity. Maybe tying into Vanessa, as both have blonde hair, and there's this picture from the trailer right here, which kind of gives Vanessa vibes, maybe, I don't know. This also would explain Vanessa's narrative somatics in this story, and maybe some of her motivation, but again, we're getting off topic. To pivot back to the Silver Eyes, I think that GF will act in a very similar role to his counterpart in the book, coming in as a character that will help Mike and Abby stop Afton near the end of the film. But let's stop beating around the bush and get to the biggest supporting evidence I have. We need to talk about Willie Afton himself. Oh boy, this is the big connection between the two stories. From everything we've seen in the trailers, it looks like Silver Eyes William will be coming to life via Matthew Lillard's performance. Not only does it seem that William is taking on some kind of fake identity as Steve Raglan, but his appearance at the end of both trailers gives some massive Silver Eyes vibes. Like in the Silver Eyes, the animatronic we see at the end of the trailer is not Springtrap, it's Spring Bonnie. Afton has obviously not been spring-locked yet by his fluid movements and the glimpses of clothes under the suit. We also see him in the beginning of the movie not spring-locked, so... We can also see that in the final trailer, while the suit is withering, it's far from the mangled mess that Springtrap is in the game. No, this looks much more like Afton in the FNAF 3 minigames, follow me. Notice the one shorter bunny eel. It seems to me that William is luring people into Freddy's to have the animatronics kill them or to do it himself, like we see in the trailers. This William also seems to have a little more of a weird spiritual connection to this place. Quote from the trailer: "They shut it down years ago. The owners just aren't ready to let it go yet." Obviously, this scene will take place quite early in the movie, and the dramatic irony for fans like us will be that we know that the owner that Steve is talking about is himself, William. William isn't ready to let it go yet because of reasons we'll probably find out in the movie. We also see this strange torture device throughout all the trailers. I think this might be tapping into the novel's mad scientist version of William, which I admit is more prominent in the 2 sequel books, The Twisted Ones and The Fourth Closet. But it seems that the more we learn about William in all mediums, the more it seems obvious that the more mad scientist version of William is the correct interpretation of this character. It seems like with all of this, it's time to revisit the Silver Eyes and see what else Scott and the team might be taking from it for this first movie. But what do you think? Do you think the Silver Eyes would be a good way to predict these movies? Let me know in the comments, and Faz wrench that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.